That breaking news, a woman and man are dead following a shooting last night in the Jones Valley neighborhood. Kayla Warren and Brian Adams shot just after 8 p.m. Warren passed away shortly after the shooting. Adams died earlier this afternoon. Police are still looking for the shooter.
Kayla Alexandria Warren was 28 years old. She went by the name Kway in Birmingham's hip-hop scene. She'd won Female Artist of the Year twice. She was a mother. She was going back to school at Midfield School of Cosmetology to get her license. On August 21, 2024, she decided to visit friends on 30th Street Southwest. It was supposed to be a normal Wednesday night. At 8:05 p.m., gunfire exploded across the neighborhood. Next door, 66-year-old Marion Redwine was watching TV in her bedroom when bullets started tearing through her walls. "I heard a lot of shooting. They do it all the time, but it was too close," she said. She hit the floor. 6 bullets ripped into her room. One exploded a cup of ink pens. Another went through her television screen. "If I'd been in my bed, I'd be dead." But on that porch next door, Caleb wasn't so lucky. She was shot, rushed to the hospital, and by 10:54 p.m., she was gone. Here's the worst part, Kayla wasn't the target, she was just visiting friends. This is the story of how an innocent woman died in someone else's war, and how her killers might have walked free. Welcome back to the channel. Before we go any further into Kayla's story, I need to pause for a moment. This case is heavy. It's about a real person with a real family who lost someone they loved. If you appreciate true crime content that honors victims and seeks answers, please hit that like button and subscribe. It helps us bring more important stories like Kayla's to light. Now let's talk about who Kayla Warren really was. Beyond the headlines, beyond the tragedy. Kayla Alexandria Warren was born in Birmingham, Alabama, around 1996. Birmingham is known as the Magic City, a place with deep roots in jazz, civil rights history, and a strong sense of community. But it also has a darker side. By 2024, the city was dealing with a serious violence problem. In 2023 alone, Birmingham recorded 135 murders. The violence continued into 2024, and Kayla would become one of its victims. But before that tragic night, Kayla was so much more than a number. She was a mother to a young daughter. That little girl was her world. Everything Kayla did, every decision she made was for her child. She wanted to build a better future, a stable life where her daughter could grow up safe and proud of her mom. Kayla was also an artist. In Birmingham's hip-hop community, she went by the name Kway, professionally known as 205 Kway. The 205 is Birmingham's area code, a badge of pride for locals. And Kayla wore it well. She wasn't just another rapper trying to make it. She had already made it in many ways. Kayla was named Female Artist of the Year twice. That's not easy to achieve. It meant her peers respected her. It meant her music connected with people. Her songs reflected hope, ambition, and love for her community. She wasn't rapping about violence or street life. Her music was about building something real. But Kayla didn't stop at music. She knew that the entertainment industry was unpredictable. She wanted something more stable, something she could rely on. So she enrolled at Midfield School of Cosmetology. She was working toward getting her cosmetology license. She wanted to do hair, help people feel good about themselves, and create another source of income for her family. She was building a future with her own 2 hands. Her cousin, who spoke to the media after Kayla's death, described her this way. She was sweet, very caring. She was a great mom to her daughter. The cousin also said she was kicking off with her rap career and just recently started going back to Midfield School of Cosmetology to get her license. She is going to be truly missed. If you looked at Kayla's social media, you'd see a woman focused on growth. Her posts were about her daughter, her music, her goals. She wasn't posting about gangs. She wasn't glorifying violence. She was posting about her dreams and her family. She was someone who believed in a better tomorrow. Kayla was the kind of person people loved to be around. She was friendly, social, and well-liked in her community. She had friends who cared about her. She had family who supported her. She was building a life, not destroying one. And that's what makes her death so painful. Kayla wasn't involved in anything dangerous. She wasn't caught up in street conflicts. She wasn't beefing with anyone. She was a 28-year-old woman trying to be a good mom, a successful artist, and a licensed cosmetologist. She had plans. She had dreams. But in a city where violence had become too common, even people like Kayla, people doing everything right, weren't safe. It was Wednesday, August 21, 2024. A warm summer evening in southwest Birmingham, the kind of night where people sit outside, talk, and enjoy each other's company. Kayla decided to visit friends at a house in the 700 block of 30th Street Southwest. In Birmingham neighborhoods, porches are gathering places. It's where people catch up, laugh, and relax after a long day. That's exactly what was happening that night. A small group had gathered on the porch. Among them was 20-year-old Brian Adams. It was an ordinary evening. There was conversation. There was laughter. Nobody had any reason to think something terrible was about to happen. Kayla was just there to spend time with friends, nothing more, nothing less. At 8:05 p.m., everything changed in an instant. Without warning, gunfire exploded through the air. Multiple shots were fired toward the home. The sound was deafening. Chaos erupted. People screamed and dove for cover, trying to protect themselves from the bullets flying in every direction. Kayla was struck on the front porch. Brian Adams was hit too. Both of them went down. When police arrived and processed the scene, they found shell casings of different calibers scattered on the ground. That meant multiple weapons, multiple shooters. This wasn't some random act of violence. It was planned. It was coordinated. Someone had come to that house with a purpose. Witnesses tried to tell police what they saw, but their accounts were broken and unclear. Nobody got a good look at the shooters. Everything happened so fast. One moment there was conversation and laughter. The next moment there was terror and blood. The people on that porch had no time to react, no time to run, no time to understand what was happening. The attack was over in seconds, but the damage was done. Next door, 66-year-old Marion Redwine was sitting in her bedroom, watching television in her lounge chair. She'd lived in that house for 13 years. It was her home, her safe space. Then she heard it. "I heard a lot of shooting," she said later. "They do it all the time, but it was too close." Her instincts kicked in. She threw herself to the floor. It was a move that saved her life. At least 6 bullets tore through her bedroom walls. They came in at the exact level where she'd been sitting just moments before. One bullet hit a metal cup on a table in front of her chair. Inside the cup were 20 brand-new ink pens. The impact made them explode, spraying black ink all over her medicines, vitamins, and floor. Another bullet went straight through her television screen. Somehow, the TV kept working. "If I'd been in my bed, I'd be dead," Marion said, her voice filled with shock. "They were surprised I wasn't dead in my chair." She stayed on the floor, heart pounding, trying to process what had just happened. For 13 years, she'd lived in that house without anything like this. Now, her bedroom was a crime scene. She didn't sleep at all that night. She couldn't. The fear was too strong. Marion's story shows something important. Violence doesn't respect walls. It doesn't care about innocence. Bullets don't stop to ask who deserves to be hurt and who does not. Within minutes, Birmingham Fire and Rescue arrived at the scene. Kayla was rushed to UAB Hospital, fighting for her life. Brian Adams was taken by private vehicle to Princeton Hospital, then transferred to UAB Hospital. His injuries were serious, life-threatening. Both victims were now in the hands of doctors, clinging to life. Meanwhile, police secured the area with yellow tape. Detectives began collecting evidence, shell casings, witness statements, anything that could help them understand what happened and who was responsible. The community was in shock. Another shooting, more lives destroyed, and for what? Kayla Alexandria Warren was pronounced dead at UAB Hospital at 10:54 p.m. Less than 3 hours after the shooting, she was gone, just like that. A mother, an artist, a student with dreams, gone. Brian Adams held on through Wednesday night. Doctors worked to save him, but his injuries were too severe. On Thursday, he died at UAB Hospital. 2 lives lost, 2 families shattered, 2 funerals to plan. Kayla's daughter was now motherless, a little girl who would grow up without her mom. No more hugs, no more bedtime stories, no more watching her mom perform on stage or graduate from cosmetology school. All of that was taken away in seconds. Kayla's cousin spoke about the loss, and her words carried the weight of the family's grief. She was sweet, very caring. She was a great mom to her daughter, she said. She was kicking off with her rap career and just recently started going back to Midfield School of Cosmetology to get her license. She is going to be truly missed, but missing someone doesn't bring them back. Birmingham Police Department detectives arrived at the scene and began their work. They'd handled too many cases like this before, too many shootings, too many young lives cut short. But every case mattered, and they got to work. The preliminary investigation revealed that both victims were inside the home when the suspects fired shots toward the residents. It was an attack from the outside, aimed at people inside. Detectives also pulled footage from nearby businesses. They hoped the cameras had caught something, a car, a face, anything that could lead them to the shooters. They interviewed witnesses, but the statements were fragmented and fearful. People were scared. They didn't want to talk. They didn't want to become the next target. But as the investigation continued, one thing became clear. This wasn't random. The evidence pointed to a targeted attack. Someone had come to that house looking for a specific person. But here's the heartbreaking part. The target wasn't Kayla Warren. Investigators determined that the shooters had come for Brian Adams. The motive appeared to be retaliation for another shooting, another death. It was another turn in the endless cycle of violence that plagues too many communities. Someone hurt us, so we hurt them back. And on it goes. Kayla was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. She didn't know the shooters. She had no involvement in whatever conflict led to the attack. She wasn't part of anyone's beef. She wasn't caught up in street life. She went to visit friends on a Wednesday evening, a completely innocent social call, and it intersected tragically with someone else's war. That's the injustice of it all. Kayla did nothing wrong. She was just there. And that was enough to get her killed. This is where Kayla's story takes an even more frustrating turn. But before we get there, I want to ask you something. What do you think should happen to people who kill innocent bystanders in targeted attacks? Should they face harsher penalties? Let me know in the comments. If you're finding this story as compelling and heartbreaking as I do, please share this video. Kayla's story deserves to be heard, and sharing helps us reach more people who care about justice. Now, let's talk about what happened next, or rather, what didn't happen. Because what came after Kayla's death might be even harder to accept than the shooting itself. August became September. September became October. Weeks turned into months. Kayla's family waited for answers. The community demanded justice. But nothing seemed to be happening. Despite the evidence, security footage, shell casings, witness statements, the investigation moved slowly. Why? Because cases like this come with serious challenges. Witnesses become uncooperative. At first, people might talk to police, they might say what they saw, but as time goes on, fear sets in. Fear of retaliation. In neighborhoods where violence is common, there's a no-snitching culture, and it's not just about loyalty to the streets, it's about survival. People who know what happened stop answering their phones. They refuse to testify because they've seen what happens to people who talk. They don't want to be next. So even when police know who did it, even when there's evidence, building a case that will hold up in court becomes nearly impossible. Prosecutors need witnesses who will show up and testify. Without that, cases fall apart. For Kayla's family, the wait was agonizing. Every day without an arrest felt like another injustice. Their loved one was gone, and no one was being held accountable. 8 months passed before any arrests were made. Finally, on April 10, 2025, there was movement. The Birmingham Police Department's crime reduction team made an arrest. Jamil Karilla Jemison, 23 years old, was taken into custody on Princeton Court. He was charged with capital murder in connection to the deaths of both Kayla Warren and Brian Adams. Karilla Jemison was held in the Jefferson County Jail with no bond. That meant he wasn't going anywhere. He would stay locked up while the case moved forward. For the community, this felt like a breakthrough. Finally, accountability. Finally, someone was being held responsible for taking 2 lives. Kayla's family felt a sense of relief. It wasn't closure, nothing could bring Kayla back, but it was a step toward justice. They hoped this arrest would lead to a trial, a conviction, and some sense that the system worked. But this isn't the end of the story. In fact, it's where things get even more frustrating. Something went wrong with the prosecution. The details aren't entirely clear, but the outcome is the charges against Jamil Karilla Jemison were ultimately dropped. The case collapsed. Kayla's family and the community were left without justice. Again, the questions are agonizing. Who really killed Kway? Why did the evidence seem to disappear? What happened to the case? There are several reasons cases like this fall apart. Witnesses recant their statements or refuse to testify. Evidence becomes inadmissible because of procedural issues. Maybe something was collected wrong or a legal technicality gets in the way. Sometimes prosecutors use their discretion and decide there isn't enough evidence to secure a conviction beyond a reasonable doubt. And sometimes fear of retaliation silences the community so completely that no one will cooperate. Whatever the reason, the painful reality is this: justice was denied. Kayla's family didn't get their day in court. The person or people responsible for her death are still out there, and Kayla's daughter will grow up knowing that no one was ever held accountable for taking her mother away. Kayla's death wasn't an isolated incident. It was part of a much larger problem. In 2023, Birmingham recorded 135 murders. The violence continued into 2024, and Kayla became one of many victims that year. What's especially tragic is how often innocent bystanders are caught in the crossfire. Kayla wasn't involved in any conflict. She wasn't the target, but she died anyway. Retaliation cycles claim unintended casualties all the time. Someone gets shot, so their friends or family retaliate. Then the other side retaliates again. And on it goes, with innocent people paying the price. The trauma spreads through entire communities. Marion Redwine, Kayla's neighbor, said something that stuck with me. "I heard a lot of shooting. They do it all the time, but it was too close." Think about that. Gunfire had become so routine in her neighborhood that she was used to it. It was only scary this time because it was too close. Children are growing up with violence as background noise. They hear gunshots and learn to hit the floor. That's not normal. That's trauma, and it shapes how they see the world. Economic disinvestment and lack of opportunity make things worse. When people don't have access to good jobs, education, or resources, some turn to the streets, and the cycle perpetuates itself. Violence leads to more violence. Trauma leads to more trauma. Birmingham's hip-hop scene lost a rising star when Kayla died. Being named Female Artist of the Year twice is a significant achievement. It means she had talent, respect, and a real future in music. Other artists mourned her loss and paid tribute on social media, but tributes don't bring her back. There's also fear among performers now. If someone like Kayla, who wasn't involved in street life, can be killed just for being in the wrong place, then no one is safe. How many more talents will be lost before something changes? Music is supposed to be an escape, a source of hope. For Kayla, it was a way to build a better life for her daughter. But that hope was cut short. Kayla had unreleased music, unfulfilled potential, dreams that will never be realized. Her daughter will grow up with recordings, not memories. She'll hear her mother's voice on tracks but won't get to hear her say, "I love you" in person. Kayla's daughter is growing up without a mother, her cousin is living with grief that doesn't go away, and there's no closure because there was no justice. They watched as the suspect was arrested, then watched as the charges were dropped and he walked free. It feels like the system abandoned them. Every year, they'll remember Kayla on the anniversary of her death. Social media tributes will keep her memory alive. The community will continue to honor her. But memory isn't justice, and justice is what they deserved. Kayla's death wasn't inevitable. Patterns can be broken, systems can be improved, communities can heal, but it requires commitment, resources, and the will to make real change. Here are 5 key lessons from this tragedy. Kayla's story shows the wrong place, wrong time phenomenon. Targeted violence increasingly claims unintended victims. Bullets don't discriminate. Communities need safe spaces and conflict resolution programs. Early intervention, when disputes emerge, can prevent shootings. Community violence interruption models treat violence as a public health crisis. When violence settles scores, casualties extend far beyond the intended targets. The collapse of Kayla's case highlights a critical need: robust witness protection programs. People know who committed crimes but fear becoming the next victim. Enhanced protection measures are needed. Relocation assistance, financial support, anonymous tip lines with real follow-through. Building trust between law enforcement and communities through transparency and accountability is essential. Without witness cooperation, even strong evidence fails. Violence begets violence. Bryan Adams was targeted in retaliation. Kayla died as collateral damage. Programs that interrupt cycles, street outreach workers, mediation services, intervention when conflicts first emerge, are crucial. Models like Cure Violence use former gang members as credible messengers to prevent the cascading effect and break the eye for an eye mentality. Kayla was pursuing education and career opportunities. Many young people lack access to legitimate pathways. Poverty and lack of opportunity fuel violence. Investments in education, job training, community resources, youth programs, and mentorship provide alternatives to street life and reduce conditions that foster violence. 8 months passed, then the case collapsed. This sends a dangerous message. Violent crimes may go unpunished. Swift, certain, fair prosecution is needed as both justice and deterrent. Communities need to see the system works through adequate resources, specialized units, and transparency in case outcomes. Kayla Alexandria Warren was 28 years old. She was twice named Female Artist of the Year in Birmingham's hip-hop scene. She was working toward her cosmetology license at Midfield School of Cosmetology. She was a mother with a daughter who needed her. She had dreams that extended beyond the block, beyond Birmingham. She was actively building a future for herself and her child. All of that ended on a porch on 30th Street Southwest, because someone else's conflict required bloodshed. Kayla wasn't involved in gangs. She wasn't caught up in street life. She wasn't the target. She was simply visiting friends. Her music was silenced. Her daughter's mother was taken. Her dreams were deferred, permanently. Kayla's story demands difficult questions. How many more talented young people will we lose to violence they had nothing to do with? How many dreams will die on porches, at parties, in parking lots? What are we willing to do as communities, as a society? How do we ensure the next Kayla Warren survives to achieve her dreams? Kayla's story doesn't have the ending we wanted. Justice denied, a family without closure, a community still grieving. But we can honor her memory by demanding better. What do you think needs to change to prevent tragedies like this? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. If this story moved you, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. We cover cases that deserve attention, victims who deserve to be remembered as more than numbers. Thank you for watching, and remember, behind every true crime story is a real person with real dreams. Let's not forget that. Rest in peace, Kayla Alexandria Warren. 205 Kway. Your music lives on. Your daughter carries your legacy. Your story has been told.